All right, let's try a more difficult question, one that might be more representative of a test question on this material. And the test is not until middle of October, but nonetheless, let's just try a more difficult problem. So we'll take our time. In fact, I'm not going to do the complete solution to this question in this example. We're just going to identify the conversion factors, and the conversion pathway will sketch that. And I'm going to let you do the rest, and we'll check it in class. And so what we have here is a pool, and we have to chlorinate the pool. We have to add some chlorine to it. The chlorine that we're adding is in the form of a solution. So let's read it. The ideal level of chlorine in a pool is 1 ppm chlorine. ppm, folks, stands for part per million, so more on that in a second. The chlorine solution used to chlorinate the pool is 7% chlorine by mass, and its density is 1.10 grams per mil. The density of pool water is 1.00 grams per mil. And so the question asks, what volume in liters is needed of the chlorine solution, needed to be added to the pool, that is, in order to make an 18,000 gallon pool 1 part per million chlorine. So we want that level of chlorine in the pool to be 1 ppm. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is try and get rid of some of these words and just identify the conversion factors. Let's move this up a wee bit. Okay, and let's write them out as they appear, in the order in which they appear. So, a 1 ppm chlorine. This is kind of a funny bit of information for some people because we don't actually have the units written out. So what does 1 ppm chlorine mean? Well, 1 ppm chlorine, written as a conversion factor, is 1 part chlorine, we'll abbreviate Cl, in how many parts if it's 1 part per million? Right, 10 to the 6 parts of what? Well, ppm here is describing, it's a property of a solution. So let's use the solution, but our solution in this case is pool water. Okay, we're being very careful with our units. Now, part still looks funny. Okay, so I think that what's going to help us here is either units of volume or units of mass. And because we have, we're looking at density and mass percent composition in the chlorine solution, my guess is that what's really going to help us here is units of mass. So when we see the unit, or the description part per million, that's a part. You get to decide what that unit is. And for us, that's going to be gram. We've decided it's gram. So 1 ppm as a useful conversion factor is written as there's 1 gram of chlorine in 1 million, or 10 to the 6 grams of pool water. Okay, so that right there, that is our useful conversion factor. Next, we have a 7% chlorine by mass chlorine solution. So as a conversion factor, okay, that tells me that I've got, it's by mass, so I have 7 grams of chlorine, and it's 7%, so in 100 grams of what? What is this? What can we call it? This is our chlorine solution. We'll abbreviate it that way. Okay, so that is another conversion factor. 7 grams of chlorine in 100 grams of the chlorine solution. Let's continue reading. We have a density. We have a density of 1.10 grams per mil. What is that the density of? It's the density of the chlorine solution. Okay, so here's another conversion factor. I'm going to move this up. 1.10 grams of chlorine solution in 1 milliliter chlorine solution. Okay, there's another we're pointing to, another conversion factor. We also have the density of pool water, 1.00 grams of pool water this up in 1 mil, or occupies a volume of 1 mil of pool water. Any other conversion factors here to point to? Well, let's see. The conversion from gallons to liters, probably. And that one I would have to give you. Oh, let me look it up here. Yeah, here it is. So this one I'll give to you. It would be on a data sheet. 3.78541. We'll take it right out of a table. Liters in a gallon. Now we'll further qualify that when we get to it, but I have a feeling it's going to be pool water, pool water. Okay, so there's another conversion factor right there. Okay, so let's review our conversion factors here. Right here, this conversion factor will allow us to convert between a mass of chlorine and a mass of pool water. Okay, this conversion factor here would allow me to convert a mass of chlorine to a mass of chlorine solution that contains it, or vice versa. This conversion factor will allow me to convert between volume and mass of the chlorine solution, this between volume and mass of pool water, and this between gallons and liters. Now, going back to the question for a second, let's just sketch out our conversion pathway. Where do we start? You've probably gotten the idea by now that we don't start our calculations with a conversion factor. We start with a single item. And so reading through the question again, right here, what volume is needed in order to make it 1 ppm? To make what 1 ppm? 18,000 gallons of pool water. So where would you start your big line? I think I would start with the pool water. So we'd start with 18,000 gallons of pool water and convert all the way to a volume of chlorine solution that's needed. Okay, so conversion pathway, let's put this down. We'll just sketch it out and then I'll let you do the problem. So we'll start with a volume of pool water. Okay, and that volume of pool water is going to be in gallons. And then we're going to convert that to a different unit. We'll have to convert our pool water units of volume from gallons to liters. Actually, we'll have to do it again. Now remember, in this chapter, we're really focusing on sketching conversion pathways. We won't be doing, we won't be spending so much time on this as we move forward, okay? We're just getting started. So in other chapters, this is the part that you're going to have to ultimately do in your head. So we go gallons to liters to milliliters. Then what? We've got our volume of pool water in mils. Where do we go from there? We'll go from a volume of pool water to a mass. We'll use the density to do that calculation. That mass will be in grams. Once we know the mass, that total mass of pool water, we can use that the ppm value to find out what mass of chlorine in the same units we need to make it 1 ppm. And when we know how much chlorine we need, then we'll find the corresponding mass of chlorine solution that's required to get it to that 1 ppm level. And to go from the mass of chlorine to the mass of chlorine solution, there we are using what conversion factor? We'll be using the mass percent composition of that chlorine solution. So now that we have our mass of chlorine solution in grams, we want it in volume, so we'll have to use a density. So one last conversion to go from mass of the chlorine solution to the volume of the chlorine solution, and that will be using the density. That will be in mils. But we are asked for it in liters, and so our final step will be volume of chlorine solution in mils converted to liters. That's how we do the problem. Okay, so the first conversion will just go from gallons to liters, and then we'll go from liters to mils. Then to go from volume of pool water to mass of pool water, we need the density of pool water. To go from the mass of pool water in grams to the mass of chlorine in grams that's in that pool water to reach the 1 ppm, we're using that 1 ppm conversion factor. And to convert from the mass of chlorine needed to the mass of chlorine solution that would contain that amount, mass percent composition. Mass of chlorine solution to the volume of chlorine solution, that is what we need there. We need the density of that chlorine solution. And finally, a conversion from mils to liters. So you can calculate that. I'm going to give you the answer so you can check your work. You know that the units should come out to be liters of chlorine solution, and numerically you'll get an answer of 0.8849 liters chlorine solution required to chlorinate the pool. That is too precise, and we should have just a 1 sig fig, and so we'll round that to 0.9 liters. So you just need 900 mils of that, of the chlorine solution. And we'll put a box around there. And that's what you should get when you calculate that. Okay, so here's the how-to, and you get to do it. And hopefully you'll get the 0.9. Okay, away you go.